call Jess Brown-Fuller.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. It is a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, as much as it was 15 minutes ago. And I'd like to thank my honourable friend for Horsham for securing this really important debate. The South East, where my constituency is, has been designated as water stressed since 2021, which sometimes, as was reflected in many of the contributions, feels quite hard to believe in such a wet country, and much of my constituency is a low-lying coastal plain. But it is true that weather volatility is causing severe conditions on both ends of the scale. Droughts and floods are a commonplace occurrence, whereas before they were less likely. And I'd just like to briefly talk about chalk streams. I am very lucky to represent 2 of the 200 chalk streams that we have in England. And over-abstraction on the River Ems over many years means that now the point of constant flow has moved 2 kilometres downstream since the 1960s, which means that there are large proportions of the River Ems which is drying up every summer, which never used to dry up, that I have had harrowing accounts from constituents of them trying to rescue the salmon which migrate down the River Ems, which feels like a total catastrophe when people are in the middle of trying to save those fish. And the Tess and the Itchen, just outside my constituency, are also rare habitats, important chalk streams, and they're also really impacted by over-abstraction. So in order to address this, Portsmouth Water are building the first new reservoir in over 30 years, just on the border of my constituency, the Havant Thicket Reservoir. And this was largely favoured by the local community. It was going to create a new space. It was going to create an exciting environment for people to visit and walk around. Southern Water then got involved. They saw this brilliant idea coming forward that was popular from the population, and in order to, they then put forward a proposal to invest in Havant Thicket with Portsmouth Water by introducing an effluent recycling scheme. Now, this is the first of its kind in this country to supplement our drinking water supply. By investing in this technology, Southern Water can use clever accounting tricks to maintain their bottom line and describe it as an asset, rather than investing in fixing the infrastructure that they already have, which is much less appealing to their shareholders. The cost of this scheme to introduce effluent recycling into the drinking water supply at the Havant Thicket Reservoir is currently estimated to be £1.2 billion. But these costs are spiralling every year. There is also no lasting legacy to this project because the plant will become redundant in 60 years, but customers will still be paying for it for far longer in their bills. It's also hugely energy intensive. And at the same time, and many honourable members have mentioned this in the debate, Southern Water waste 100 million litres of water every day through leaky pipes, which they have failed to maintain.
So my constituency of Wiltshire, which the northern part is served by Thames Water, and in Lynham we see outages which seem to be almost every week, and yet they are pouring water down the streets of Royal Wootton Bassett and wasting it, and yet they cannot supply tap water to Lynham or to parts of Bassett. And on top of that, they are not giving any information to the residents as to when these things will be reinstated. Would my honourable colleague agree with me that water companies, A, should be making better use of their assets, but also that they should be giving the information to residents when they are failing?
I thank my honourable friend for her intervention and for making a really valid point, and I'm sure that's why she agrees with me that the best way to address our failing water system is to make these water companies public benefit interest companies, so that they are beholden to their customers and to the environment before the needs of their shareholders, which quite often, although they may profess to care about the public, they are always looking far closer at their bottom line and about how their shareholders feel. And with confidence in water companies at an all-time low, Southern Water being one of the worst offenders, it's hard to believe that the Secretary of State will sign off on this project without encouraging Southern Water to prove that all other options have been exhausted. But I would appreciate the Minister providing me with an update on whether the government is in favour of this scheme. Now, I understand that the decision has been deferred until spring 2026, which does provide an opportunity for the Minister to meet with local campaigners from my constituency and from the neighbouring constituency who would love to share their thoughts on the project, which could end up providing a blueprint for the rest of the UK. Water scarcity is not just about supply, it's also about demand, which is rising exponentially with a projected deficit of billions of litres of water a day, as many honourable members have mentioned. That is why I tabled an amendment to the Planning and Infrastructure Bill that was to call for all new developments to introduce dual piping at the build stage, so that households could introduce grey water recycling into their homes without a huge amount of costs. The cost on the developer would have been very small, we're talking in the single hundreds of pounds, and yet the saving that households could have then found if they decided to introduce potable water for things like flushing their toilets or using in their washing machines would have been a huge saving in the long run. Now, although the government chose not to accept my amendment, there does need to be a serious conversation about the use of grey water to reduce demand on drinking water. We also need to urgently implement Schedule 3 of the Flood and Water Management Act 2010, which is long overdue. Although local authorities can choose to make SUDs mandatory, and I know the Minister is passionate about SUDs, she has told me herself in many a Westminster Hall debate, for all new developments, like my local authority, Chichester District Council, has done, it is still not mandatory across the country, so I'd appreciate an update from the Minister on their review into Schedule 3. And Portsmouth Water are also undertaking a project in my constituency of Chichester to install meters on every property that they provide water for, which should mean that those that use more water pay more, and those who are conscious of their water use see a saving on their bills. And with water bills going up exponentially across the country, I'm sure this would be a welcome saving to lots of my constituents in Chichester. Thank you.